I am a lifelong Digimon and Dragon Ball fan. Despite hearing for decades that I need to get into One Piece, I never thought I was going to watch or read it. With over 1100 chapters, One Piece is kind of the live service forever game of anime. It seemed impenetrable, like a whole other part-time job that I didn't think I could commit to. But somehow, in recent times, I quietly worked my way through the series, and I want to share my impressions, my experience going through One Piece for the first time in the 2020s. I get it, a lot of you come here for Digimon videos, but as someone who talks Millennium-Era anime like Beyblade and Shaman King, with the One Piece anime having debuted in 1999, I feel like we can swing a One Piece discussion on this channel. So in this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on the first half of One Piece, the 597 chapters leading up to the time skip, essentially the first half of One Piece. Indulge me for a moment, I need to talk about this series at least once. If nothing else, this will be a time capsule record for myself. So first question, why now, almost 30 years after its manga debut, more than 20 years after I first saw it as an option on North American TV, why did I only now get into One Piece? Two things, I was and still am a huge Dragon Ball fan, and after 2018's exceptional Dragon Ball Super Broly, we got this brutal dry spell of animated Dragon Ball projects. While Dragon Ball was at this low point, I was seeing unbelievable footage of One Piece on social media in the middle of its Wano arc, doing incredible things with the art form that is 2D animation. While I was starved and desperate for Dragon Ball crumbs, One Piece was breaking the internet week over week. I was so jealous of One Piece fans, and the thought of becoming one finally started to enter my mind. It's never been a competition or a rivalry, but I thought if you can't beat them, join them. Then the second thing, believe it or not, was the live-action Netflix series. I had trusted anime content creators, podcasters, and real-world friends tell me that it was not just good, but even kind of great. I tried that live-action show and was absolutely charmed with Oda's world. Its core Straw Hat cast, their dreams, the silliness of its world and its power system, the endless creativity and lack of self-seriousness behind many of the Devil Fruit powers, and also the indicators that the world beyond the East Blue was vast and full of history. I finished season 1 of the live-action and instantly began reading from chapter 1. So now to get to my thoughts on the series actual. Again, lifelong Dragon Ball fan, Bleach enjoyer, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, AOT, JJK, all the usual suspects, but One Piece was the series I decided to skip. And man, did I pick the wrong series to write off. One Piece is brilliant. I had come at it all wrong, thinking there was some Dragon Ball versus One Piece thing, that I had to choose a camp. That's ridiculous. They were never competitors, chronologically, but also content-wise. One Piece is in my mind the spiritual successor to Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball and the definitive Shonen Jump story of the 21st century, but it's also so different from its contemporaries. Monkey D. Luffy has skyrocketed to being my favorite of the Shonen Jump protagonists that I've encountered in my time watching and reading the genre. At first glance, he is deceptively simple, a happy-go-lucky boy with a larger-than-life dream, but as the story goes and you begin to understand him, his values, his fears, as well as where those values and fears come from, you realize what a complex character you've got on your hands. And he has this goofy rubber man power that is not traditionally badass or epic, but is so creative, so fun to watch. I had heard Oda say something along the lines of, if I'm going to be drawing this guy for ages, I better make sure it's fun, and I love that. I also like that visually he is not scary or intimidating in the slightest. I'm reminded of what David Cornsweet, the new Superman actor, said about why Superman should wear his silly trunks over the blue suit. Superman wants kids to not be afraid of him. He wants to be a symbol of hope and positivity. I feel like this applies to Luffy's design and his in-universe behavior. For me, the pirates and the Marines of One Piece are the best and most iconic cops and robbers dynamic since the Empire and the Rebels in the original Star Wars. This eternal rivalry between two philosophies that actually has complex heroes and villains on both sides. One Piece, and specifically Luffy's crew, rewrite your expectations for what pirates even are. It's not a story about looting and pillaging or anything. He's a new kind of pirate where freedom and agency are what matters. I love the power tracking system in One Piece with the bounties. Generally speaking, it's the ultra powerful pirates in this world that are most wanted, and so the size of their bounty will be a reflection of how opposing they are. As the story progresses, the bounties on Luffy and his crew will increase as they are growing in notoriety and power. As they sail farther along the Grand Line, they are meeting more legendary pirates who naturally have bigger bounties and pose larger threats. There's power levels in Dragon Ball and Mana and Shaman King, and most other shonen battle anime have an equivalent, but the bounties abilities are such a clever way to do power tracking. It quickly communicates threat level while also leaving room for unknowns and subversion, such as a weakling with a comically large bounty, or an absolute monster that is unsuspecting because he or she isn't wanted by the world government. I also adore how One Piece subverted my expectations with its form changes, with transformations. Again, I'm coming at this from the perspective of a Dragon Ball fan, of a Digimon fan. Let's be real, I've been on the internet, I've seen Gear 2, 3, 4, etc. forever. I don't count those as spoilers. The real fun was trying to figure out when and how they'll debut in the story. I'm thinking, okay, 600 chapters before the time skip, I guess we get a new form maybe every 200 chapters, that feels about right. Again, I'm thinking Digimon logic or Dragon Ball, where there's often a new form at the climax of every arc. But nope, in One Piece you go 387 chapters before Luffy reveals Gear 2, his first real transformation, and it's in the middle of the arc. So then I'm thinking, okay, it'll be another couple hundred chapters until I get Gear 3, right? But no, that form debuts 26 chapters later in 403 in the same arc. And so now I'm going, okay, yeah, anything can happen in One Piece. This is not following the shonen playbook that I'm familiar with. Literally, anything goes. Speaking of the order of operations and anything goes, Luffy's crew. The way you think Chopper and Vivi are the new Straw Hats, only for Vivi to step back and for Robin to join the crew. My favorite of these head-scratching shakeups was the fact that after going ages without a new crewmate, we formally get Frankie after Enies Lobby, and I think to myself, okay, we're not getting anyone new for a while. And then while we're still getting used to Frankie as a full-timer, Luffy invites Brook to join in what felt like minutes later. No matter how hard I try, I can't predict One Piece. And this entire crew, I'm skipping all over in this video. I never promised this would be a play-by-play review or ranking of the story arcs, but the way Luffy's superpower is his ability to get these self-actualizing proclamations out of people who are reluctant or stuck. Getting Sanji out of Baratier to search for the All Blue, having Nami ask for help at her lowest, obviously the climax of Enies Lobby, getting Robin screaming, "I want to live," through tears. That moment will forever be, for me, one of the best page turns I've experienced reading manga. It's only when these people want to help themselves that Luffy steps in to get them to the finish line. It's so good. I feel like I finally understand the cultural impact of the Straw Hat iconography, why people in real life have these One Piece tattoos. This world is rich in meaning, and I can see so many people connecting with so many of its characters. I'm super impressed by the depth of this world. I've never experienced anything like it. How much appears to have been mapped out by Oda decades in advance. At the start of the story, Gold Roger's execution feels like something that happened in a whole other time period, but through the world building, by visiting locations and meeting characters who were around when Gold Roger was, you realize how close in time Luffy was to the late King of the Pirates. This series is a masterpiece in world building in my opinion, just in how consistently and logically everything fits together. These are my post-time skip wishes, things I wrote down before going any further with the story. I really hope Zoro stays goofy after the time skip. His whole character was another huge delight and surprise for me. I had seen this dude online for decades, the super serious looking guy with a ridiculous amount of swords. What I never could have predicted was how much humor we would get from his antics and lack of navigation. I hope Robin and Nami stay great. They're some of the best women characters I've encountered in my time reading and watching shonen. In Dragon Ball, I never liked how characters such as Android 18 and Videl would kind of get dropped after their introduction arcs, or just kind of turned into housewives. But with One Piece, it's looking like Robin is kind of key to the main plot, to the world history of One Piece in a way that excites the hell out of me. I'm so into how much happens off screen between arcs. Even when the Straw Hats are on an island arc that only takes a few days, we see that the rest of the world moves on with them. With the 2-year time skip, there is so much potential for so much change. It could be a whole new leadership in the Marines, a whole new hierarchy of power with the warlords and the emperors and the next generation. I'm not sure where else to go with this video. As I said, I don't plan on doing like arc reviews, and I didn't want to do a ranking of the pre-time skip arcs in this video. I just wanted to put on record my thoughts on the series, as I know it's been a part of so many people's lives for decades and only recently became a part of mine. I'm so happy I started reading and watching while the series is still going. I look forward to being caught up in the near future, and I'm so thrilled to be alive and actively following along while one of the most epic, consistent, long-running stories of the 21st century unfolds. I'm definitely going to miss being able to binge at my own pace once I'm caught up, but I imagine being able to engage with new One Piece as it's rolling out will be its own sort of thrill. Thank you for watching and listening, taking a little pause on the Digimon talk since Beat Break had a week off, and since Digimon Con is not quite here yet. I hope you enjoyed hearing why I had not watched One Piece, what finally got me, and what I thought after. Feel free to pick my brain in the comments, ask about my favorite characters or reactions to a specific story beat. I'll try my best to respond. Next video, I think I'll be talking about our war game one more time, finally giving it an official review. I know I talk about it every chance I get, but technically I've reviewed Digimon the movie, I've reviewed the Blu-ray collection of the 3 movies, like the physical package, and I've reviewed Hurricane Touchdown, but not our war game or Digimon Adventure 1999. So those are next on the to-do list. Subscribe if you're interested in hearing more from me. Thanks again, see you in the next video.